Welcome back, students. So, we are going to discuss the rest of our contents of Jude the Obscure in today's video. Yes, we are going to discuss the themes, characters, and the important debates and quotations of the novel Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. Let's talk about the themes first. The very novel, Jude the Obscure, tells the story of the life of a stonemason, Jude. Means it tells the story of a working class man, Jude, who was in love with his cousin, Sue. Being in love, but on the other hand, with failed marriages, this has made Jude and Sue realized that they are the part of a cursed clan. Now, what is meant by this term cursed clan? Cursed clan means humanity in the shackle of conventions. In short, Hardy aims to show that man in modern times wants a freedom from the old conventional paradigms, for example, marriage and religion, and the religious and social norms. Modern man wants to live a free life. Yet, modern man fails due to the rule of conformist social and cultural setup. So, the central themes of the novel, Jude the Obscure, revolve around love, religion, and marriage. Well, here are some primary themes of this novel, Jude the Obscure. Love and marriage, religion, desires versus society, sense of isolation, society versus individual. Means society versus an individual's dreams, aspirations, goals, and future plans. And then gender, obviously. Let's discuss each of these important themes in details. First of all, let's discuss the role of love and marriage. Sue and Jude were the part of a society that had granted no space for love without marriage. It was a hypocritical society, as we all know that the Victorian society was extremely hypocrite, and they were double standard people. They accommodated each and every frivolity of the upper classes, but in all the moral values were means but we can say in easy words that all the moral restrictions were reserved for the poor people, for the working class, or for the average beings of that society. It didn't mind an unhappy marriage, but the love that breeds living a life without the legitimacy of the wedlock. They had no preference for an individual's satisfaction, an individual's peace of mind, but all they wanted to assert was a system of values and beliefs on the individual's lives. Their love story means the love story of Jude and Sue as the dominant part of the plot of the novel, and the novel is based on actually the triangle of love, religion, and marriage. It questions the values of paradigms and beliefs. Hardy doesn't necessarily consider marriage as a bad thing, but he questions the value of social norms. He questions the value of a marriage that does not impart any type of happiness and satisfaction among the people or between two people or like husband and wife. Then comes the religion. Religion again plays a crucial role in the life of Jude. Early in his life, he wants to become a classical scholar, and he works hard for that. Then the unfolding circumstances of his life made him to give away the old beliefs. His unhappy marriage with Arabella, his silent love for Sue and Sue's failed marriage, Jude and Sue living out of wedlock and having kids, the suicide of the children due to the disturbed lives of Jude and Sue were the things where they realized that being away from religion had made them cursed beings. It wasn't necessarily in terms of religion, but in terms of social values and cultural beliefs. So, socially and culturally, they were not acceptable beings for the Victorian society of the time. The next thing is society versus individual. Now, the very theme, society versus individual, is a prevalent theme in the whole Victorian and modernist fiction. Well, religion was not only the dominating factor of Jude and Sue's lives, but also the socio-normative setup was a chief factor that affected their lives. The society or the socially unexpected living patterns had made them to suffer. The attempts to exercise their free will in a tightly knitted belief system of the society had made them to suffer. In short, that society allowed no space for an individual's desires, goals, plans to flourish freely. So, this is how the very aspect of society versus individual is found working in the plot of the novel Jude the Obscure. Then, another important theme is isolation. And the very thing, isolation, it is, as we all know, is the dominant theme of the modernist literature as well. So here, with reference to this theme of isolation, we can say that Hardy is, in Hardy's works, we can find the traces of the emerging modernity and modernism. Well, the novel Jude the Obscure represents a modernist feature of isolated life in the novel. When the individual and society collide, the results come in the form of isolation. That is what happened with Jude, that he dies at the end in isolation, and he died alone, all alone. Because although he was in a marriage, in a wedlock, but he was living a very sick life. It wasn't a happy marriage. It wasn't a healthy relationship. So he died in isolation due to the social restrictions of living in the marriage or in a married relationship. Then comes another important thing, another important feature, and that is gender. The early traces of feminist movement are evident in Sue's characters. However, Sue's character isn't a powerful feminist character. She is not a strong agent of feminism due to her weak power of decision. Yet in some ways she reflects a feminist side in the plot of this novel, particularly in her decision of leaving for Lotson and in her decision of living with Jude, in her decision of exercising her will. She sounds a bit feministic. However, we cannot consider the character necessarily a feminist character. Now, come to the debate of characters. Jude Foley is the central character and the protagonist of the novel, and the whole plot development is based on the decisions and actions of Jude. As a character, Jude can be considered as one of the classics because throughout the plot of the novel, he was the one who had to go through all the thick and thins of his life, and he wasn't a flat character. He was sort of a round character. Like in the first half of the novel, he was a man of some beliefs, and in the later of the half of the novel, he was transformed, and his beliefs changed. The old values shattered, and was replaced, and sorry, those old values were replaced by the new values, but at the end he had to suffer out of the consequences of exercising his free will. So Jude Foley is one of the classics created by or composed by Thomas Hardy. The next character is Sue Brighthead, another important character with her attempts to take actions according to her will and desire. Arabella Dunn, one of the witchy characters of this novel, she is Jude's wife who cheated on him and trapped him successfully into a marriage in which Jude wasn't happy. And then Jude had a son from Arabella. Arabella was a selfish and manipulative lady. Then comes the character of Richard Fullerton, who was Jude's teacher and was also Jude's inspiration. And he was another character who tried to exercise his will, and he tried to live his desired life in this novel. Now come to the important debates and quotations. Now in the debate of quotations and important aspects, I am just going to discuss briefly my own interpretation, but the quotations are obviously here. You can add your own part in the interpretation of those quotations up to your will and up to your understanding. So let's come to the first quotation. The first quotation is, "Cathedral? Yes. Though I think I'd rather sit in the railway station. That's the center of the town life now. The cathedral was a very good place 4 or 5 centuries ago, but it is played out now. I'm not modern either. I'm more ancient than medievalism, if you only knew." Now, this is the dialogue of Sue when she explains and talks about or shares her views towards religion with Jude. So Sue explains her views on religion when Jude and Sue were sitting in a cathedral. Here, Hardy is not against the social institution of marriage or religion, but he questions the beliefs that people should not step away from a sick married relationship. So this was behind the discussion. This was the aspect. Let's move to the second important quotation. Now, here is the second important quotation. "Those buildings and their associations and privileges were not for him. From the looming roof of the great library, into which he hardly ever had time to enter, his gaze travelled onto the varied spires, halls, gables, streets, chapels, gardens, quadriangles, which compose the ensemble of this unrivaled panorama. Yet, without those denizens, the hard readers couldn't read, nor the high thinkers live." So, the explanation of this very passage is, the very passage portrays a vivid picture of Jude's urge for education and his realization of being the part of a working class. It also exposes the class system's prevalence in the English society of the Victorian time period. Let's move to the third quotation. Here is the third important quotation. "Well, if you take it like that, I shall go back to him. He was very fond of me, and we lived honorable enough and as respectable as any married couple in the colony." This is said after Jude realized of Arabella's marriage at Australia. She made a counterattack on him. Arabella's defense of her marriage with her school teacher as an act of her free will and considering it equally prestigious like her wedding with Jude. Here is again we can find Hardy's voice of feminism in the form of these dialogues of Arabella. Let's move to the fourth quotation. It's a lengthy one. I have been thinking that the social molds civilization fits us into have no more relation to our actual shapes than the conventional shapes of the constellations have to the real star patterns. Beautiful. I'm called Mrs. Richard Fulotson, living a calm, wedded life with my counterpart of that name. But I'm not really Mrs. Richard Fulotson, but a woman tossed about all alone with aberrant passions and unaccountable antipathies. So this is Sue's pondering on the conformity of social behavior, social patterns, and social norms that uh, that do not allow an individual to live a life of his or her own will. It was a beautiful quotation, and particularly Hardy's style of reflecting an individual's thoughts and psychology, and using an individual or a character as his mouthpiece. The style and the narrative style is excellent. There is quotation number 4. It's a short one. Why should we care so much for why should you care so much for Christmanster? Christmanster cares nothing for you, poor dear. This is said by Sue to Jude when she responds to Jude's urge to go back to Christminster. Christminsters. Means when he wants to go there, then Sue responds to him in terms of the class consciousness of the place, that the very place has no space and has no longing for Jude. This is a bit ironical as well. Let's move to the 6th one. I see marriage differently now. My babies have been taken from me to show me this. Arabella's child killing mine was a judgment, the right slaying the wrong. What shall I do? Now, this is said by Sue after meeting the horrible news of the suicide of their children, of her children, other their children, because Arabella's child killed the rest of the 2 siblings, and he also killed himself. So Sue, mourning on the loss and realizing herself as a vain being, unable to fit with the rest of the society, considering herself a guilty for which she had to lose her kids. I'm such a vile creature, too worthless to mix with the ordinary human beings. This is Sue's pondering at the end. Here is quotation number 8. This is said by Jude. We have both remarried out of our senses. I was made drunk to do it. You were the same. So, Jude was trying to convince Sue for eloping with him in this very thing, in this very quotation. Like he say, either a form of intoxication takes away the nobler vision. He was trying to convince Sue for eloping with him. Let's then shake off our mistakes and run away together. This was a transformed Jude, whose previous ideologies were changed. He often sounds raising the most controversial points in terms of religion, culture, and morality in the novel Jude the Obscure. As the name shows, Jude the Obscure. Okay, students, One thing that I have been noted up till now is that in the Victorian literature, it's a very rich literature, and if we go through the fiction and also the poetry of this very period, they have used symbolic names. I mean, they use titles and names symbolically. We will discuss this in detail in the next videos, inshallah. But the video aspect is extremely interesting. Well, thank you so much for today, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. And the post statement is, if you find my videos helpful, then don't forget to like and promote my channel by winning subscribers for the channel. English literature on a click ever welcomes you. You can share your queries in the comment section. You can ask anything or any topic you want a guidance on. And secondly, I have also launched another channel, and that is named as Bazme Sukhan Saz. And the very channel, I shall brief you in details about the channel, because I have some mightier plans for the channel. Because in terms of literature, I am planning to introduce translations of different legendary songs and legendary mystic movies and mystic series and the things like that. So must visit Bazme Sukhan Saz, and if you like it, then subscribe that channel too. Thank you so much for today. Allah Hafiz.